Johara and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do top 10 speeches from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A lot of them are going to be Xander's speeches because he's the one that does all the inspirational speeches, but there are some good ones from some other people that Xander's speeches are usually my favorites, but I have some other favorites from some other people, but you'll see that when I get there. Okay, let's get started. Number 10, Xander's speech to Anya. Most of Xander's speeches are closer to the beginning, but this was a sweet moment, but not as inspiring as some of the other speeches. That's why so far. It was after Riley left, and he gave that speech to Buffy, which I'll talk about that speech later. Buffy chased down Riley, but he had already left in his helicopter and couldn't hear her screaming for him. And then, this was season 4. No, 5. Yeah, it was season 5 because Riley was in all season 4 and then a little bit of season 5 before he left. So, he went to Anya and he was telling her how much he loves her and how he hasn't exactly been clear about it, and it was just a really sweet and touching moment, and I think it's kind of an underrated moment between the two of them. I'm eventually going to do a top 10 Anya and Xander moments, top 10 Spike and Buffy moments, Cordelia and Angel, Tara and Willow, all my favorite couples from Buffy. But when I do that, I'll try to make sure that's in there. I mean, they do have a lot of good scenes, even if it is just in the honorable mentions, but it is a sweet scene, and I think it is important because Xander doesn't really know how to express his feelings well. You know, I mean, he showed how he felt about Anya on the episode where Tara first comes in, Hush, with the gentleman, because when he thought Spike was drinking her blood and that she was dead, he got all angry and started attacking Spike because it showed that how much he cares about her. And I don't remember the first time he says he loves you. This might be it, actually. The first time he verbally expressed it, at least. But I just think it's an important moment between the two of them because he finally stopped with the jokes for 5 minutes and just told Anya how much he cares about her, how much she means to him. And it was just such a sweet moment between the two of them. And I don't think it gets all the attention it deserves. Okay, number 9, Tara's speech to Willow. I almost had this earlier up just because I love Tara and I love Tara and Willow together, but this isn't one of the best speeches to say. Not one of the most inspiring speeches, just like the whole one I just mentioned. But it was after they broke up, and then right before they got back to, this is when they got back together, right before she ended up dying. She came up to Willow, and what did she say? She was like, you can't just get coffee and everything's gonna be okay. And Willow's like, I know. And Tara's like, I don't remember what she said word for word, but she's basically saying how it takes time to rebuild trust and what they once had, to see if they even can move on at all, see if they can be together again. But she says it's like a long, important process. But then I'm never going to forget okay, I'm never going to forget this part. She was like, can we just skip it? Can you just be kissing me now? And the Willow's face, she was so happy, and then she jumped up and they just started kissing, and it was just so sweet. And I honestly, I don't think I hear about that scene as much as I should, because I think, because obviously it's an important moment between the two of them. They get back together, and Tara can finally forgives her for what she did, and I don't know, there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't be able to move past that, you know, but it just shows what kind of person Tara really is. And even though she ends up dying the end of the next episode, I think, because the entire episode the two of them were together, all happy and back together, and then at the very end she dies, and it kind of makes that speech sad because you know that she's going to die shortly after she's finally, and I just think she gets a raw end of the deal, you know what I mean, after everything she's been through. But I'm gonna go rant about that on another video. Okay, I just think it's a sweet moment and it should get talked about more because, you know, after everything they've been through, everything Willow did to Tara, she was able to say, could we just skip this process? Could we just skip the breakup, the getting back together, and just be back together? And I just think it's really sweet. Okay, number 8, Xander's speech to Buffy about Riley, which, okay, it was the same episode from the one where Xander was telling Anya how he feels about her. After Buffy found out some disturbing news about Riley, she was all ready to let him go, to break things off with him, and then Xander goes up to her and is like, "You need to cut this crap, okay? You after all the crap you went through with Angel and everything, you don't always get a sure thing like Riley." Even though I don't think Riley's a sure thing, I was not a fan of him at all, or Buffy with Riley. No, but what Xander said, even no matter who is about, what he said is just amazing and shows you the kind of guy he is. You know, how compassionate and awesome, and I love him. He's definitely the heart of the show, or maybe I think he's more the soul of the show. I don't know, but it's just the kind of guy he is. He's the inspiration, I guess is a good way to put it. But he said, but he was like, so you need to you can't just let Riley go out of your own feelings. You know, if you love him, then go chase him. If not, then let him go. But if there's a part of you that thinks you guys can work this out, then don't let him go. And then you could see Buffy's face in that moment. She's looking at him like, I don't even know how to explain her facial expression, but she was like, it's like you could see the realization in her face from the moment she was willing to just throw it all away to the moment she realized she couldn't. And it was just, it shows what impact Xander really has on the group, you know? Okay. Number 7. That's one we're on yet, right? Yeah, okay. Jonathan's speech at prom. Now this was an amazing, I just loved it. Jonathan is that really weird guy who's been on since the very beginning. His death still upsets me. Not as bad as Tara's or Spike's or Anya's, obviously, but his death did upset me because he's been on since the very beginning. He was like the only character that wasn't a main star that was on since the very beginning. And I was upset that they killed him off. And they kept Andrew. I think they should have kept Jonathan. But anyways, that's not the point of this. Jonathan was giving out the awards or something at prom, and or the prom committee was, and then Jonathan was chosen to give out the special award, which was the first time ever given. And then he was like, "It's Buffy Summers here," and then everyone was just looking at her, and she was looking around like, "What's going on?" And then Jonathan, I love how he's like, most people know that this school is in like, that Sunnydale High is in like most schools, and then people just start shouting out crap that's happened, like Coyote people, and somebody was shouting out Snyder, which I thought was funny. But Snyder's the principal, which if you're watching this video, you're probably a fan of Buffy, so you probably know that. So moving on. But he was like, no matter what happened, no matter what was threatening our school, you always seemed to come there and stop it. And we might have always, I'm not saying this word for word, I'm just pretty much saying exactly what he said, but he was like, we may never have showed you that we noticed, but we have noticed. And so they gave her this little umbrella thingy, and they were like, and what did it say? It's like, Buffy Summers, class of 99, class protector. Yeah, it said class protector somewhere on there. And she was and she was so surprised, and then you can see her friends looking at her all proud, and I just think it was so sweet. You know, I mean, I love how it was Jonathan that gave her the award, and I just love how it showed that even though everyone didn't always show their gratitude toward her, they were all grateful for everything she's done for them and the school over the past 3 years. So it was just a really sweet moment. 6. Buffy's leader speech right before finale. Okay, this was during the finale. They had that big fight. Every show like this has to have this awesome battle at the end, right? But Buffy was like, this is when they were trying to decide. They were deciding to make it so all the potentials could get into their full power now during the fight, because it was the only chance they would have at survival. And that this way there will never be one chosen. Every person in the entire world who was meant to become a Slayer one day, if the Slayer died and they're still around, because everyone who, like, at one point she even says, everyone who might have the power will have the power. I just love what she says, and it only shows part of her speech at first, and then she was telling the potentials and everything about it, about their plan with her friends next to her, and but then it stops, and then it goes to other things, and then in the middle of the fight, the good guys were losing, and then Willow did it so everyone was starting to feel the power of being full Slayer, you know, and then all of a sudden it cut back to Buffy during that scene again, and she was finishing her speech. She was like, every woman who, I love the end of that speech the most, because she was like, because it started showing other people around the world who was starting to get that power at the exact same time, because they weren't able to get every potential Slayer in the world, because there's probably hundreds out there who could become a Slayer one day if they're next in line, or if they survive long enough to get the chance, you know. And so she was like, everyone who could have the power will have the power. Can't stand up, will stand. I love that part. She's like, can't stand up, will stand up. And then it shows this girl like someone was like beating her down, and she was just grabbed her hand and just stood up. And then it showed this little girl doing it at the end. It showed this little girl with a baseball bat, all scared, but then all of a sudden she looks full of confidence. And then it was like, are you ready to be strong? And then it went back to the fight, and I love that speech. I think it was a great leader speech for Buffy. You know, I mean, I don't think she's done many like inspiring speeches like that, but even though they've had big battles before, this was the biggest of them all, so she needed everyone to get ready and prepared, and I think she was good at inspiring everyone to do so. Okay, let me see. Number 5, Spike's speech to Buffy. Oh, this was towards the end, after everyone kicked her out of her house, which I'm so upset about, which I might talk about in a different in a different video. But for now, we're just gonna talk about Spike finally finding her, and then she was just told him to go. She was ready to give up, and then he was like, "No, you listen to me." And what did he say? He was like, 100+ years, I've never been as sure as anything in my life as I'm sure about you, something like that. And I like what he said about I don't say I love you because I can't have you or something else. And he was like, I love what you are, what you can do, something like that. And it was just really sweet, because and I don't think it gets as much talk about as it should, because it's just a really sweet moment between the two of them, and it shows how much they've grown to care for each other, how much they've trust each other now, and how much they're willing to do anything. Just like how Spike and Faith were fighting just before this because Spike went off on everyone for kicking her out after everything she's done for them, and it just shows how much he cared about her, because when he came on in season 2, he was all ready to kill her. And to see the two of them from season 2 to season 7, it's like you can't even realize that the two of them used to hate each other. And I love this scene, and I think it's just incredibly sweet, because, and I like what he says about her being the one, and then right after she asked him to stay on the bed with her, and it was just really sweet. It shows how comfortable they've grown to be with each other and stuff, and it's really sweet. I love it. Okay. Number 4, Buffy's speech to the council. I love this scene. I do. I don't like that episode in season 5 when the council comes and makes her do all these tests to see if she's worthy to come back to them. But I love the end. So every time I am rewatching, I don't even watch that episode except for the end. From right when she walks into that magic shop, I stop there, and then I watch from there on out. And she put a sword down next to the leader of the council, and she was like, no more tests, no more hoops you know I can't jump through, no more this, no more that. This time it's my turn to talk, and you listen, no interruptions. I'm gonna tell you how it is. I mean, she doesn't say that last part, but everything else she pretty much said one out at some point. But she was like, she said that the council didn't come all this way to see if she could come back to them. They came to see if they can go back to her. Because back in season 3, I want to say, after something crazy they did, she quit the council. They fired Giles, and then she quit the council. So, and she was, I like this one thing she said. What did she say? She was like, because you're going to give me all the information you have on Glory, and then you're going to leave. Because there's nothing, because, what did she say? She said something about, you can't do anything with the information you have except post it on, and everyone thinks we're crazy, some journal or something like that. I just thought that was funny, because it's true, because it's just funny. But, and then she was like, Giles will be paid from the month he was fired. Will be rehired and paid from the month he was fired, retroactively or something like that. And then she was like, my friends will continue to help me. Oh, I like it when this one guy interrupts and she throws a sword at him, because that's Buffy for you. But anyways, someone else interrupts, and she was like, you're talking about children. She's like, I'm talking about 2 witches and a 1,000-year-old demon. And then for Xander, she said, Xander's clocked in more field time than all of you combined, which I think is which is alright, but I think they should have said something else, like, I think she should have said that he's their inspiration, because it's true. It's never said, ever, which I think it should have said one time or another, that he's the inspiration. Every time one of them or all of them were ready to give up, Xander's the one that says something inspiring, and it makes everyone believe. But, and then, I also think at one point or another she should have just said she's a child, because when that one lady was like, but you're talking about 4 children, and then I like that she kind of threw in the powers of her friends and stuff, even though I still think she should have said Xander's the inspiration. At one point or another, I do think she should say that I am a child too, because it's true. Because with all these chosen ones, most of the time they are children when they first start, except for the charmed ones. They're the only ones I can think of off the top of my head that were already in their mid-20s when they became chosen. But like with Buffy, with Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender, he was 12. Buffy was 15? Yeah, I think she started out 15. I can't think of any more chosen ones off the top of my head, but they're usually, or this one book series, the Effigy book series. I think most of, there were 4 chosen ones, and one of them found out that when she was still in high school, she had to be at 15, 16 at the least, and so it's like most chosen ones on anything you watch start out as a child, even if the show ends with them all grown up and they've grown and stuff and they're not children anymore. They still started out as children. Started out on these life and death missions and repeatedly almost dying. And I think that's one thing I did like about Avatar: The Last Airbender, because someone said that Yue, I think, said it. She was like, but you're the Avatar, and he's like, I'm just one kid. And I was like, every show with a chosen one who's a child should say that. Should say that I'm just a child, or I'm just one kid, something like that, because it's so true. They expect, just because they're chosen one, they expect them to do all this and to just be okay with it. That's why Aang gets some hate for running away, because most avatars don't find out until they're a teenager, but until they're 16, I think. But with the war going on, they told Aang early, and he was just a kid. He couldn't handle that, so he got scared and he left and got frozen for 100 years. That is not his fault. Okay, it was their fault for telling a child without any preparations that he was all of a sudden the chosen one, that he's the only one that can defeat all this. It's too much burden to put on one child. And just like with Buffy, they expected her to do this alone because every chosen one does. And some chosen ones are adults when they find out, but doesn't mean they can handle it any better. But a lot of them are probably children when they found out, and they just expect them to go about it, for the watcher to never help, for them to do this all by themselves when they're just children. They don't deserve all this burden, and that's why Buffy survived so long, because she did have friends. It doesn't matter if she's a chosen one or not, doesn't mean she can survive without some help, especially as a child. But sorry, that rant is over now. I might have a whole new video for that rant because I don't even think I'm done having things to say about that. So I'm definitely gonna make a video someday about chosen ones on shows, movies, and books. Harry Potter is another example. He was the famous Harry Potter, destined to stop Voldemort. But when the movies first started, he was 11 years old, even younger than Aang, and they... So yeah. Okay, moving on from this long rant. I'm not done with Buffy's speech to the council, am I? But by the end, I like what she said. You guys can have all the time you want to process this, but I forgot what the leader's name is, but she's like, I think he's understanding me. And he was like, those terms are acceptable. And yeah, so that's the end of that one. Okay. Number 3, Xander's speech to the potentials. This was in one of the later episodes too, from season 7.
Thank you for nothing.
Okay. Because they were all wondering Buffy's tactics and stuff, and Buffy about her reasoning and stuff, and then Xander got tired of their crap, and she was like, listen to me, okay, because I fought more battles with Buffy than you can imagine. And what did he say? He was like, what did he say? Crap. I love this speech, but I can't find it on YouTube. I'm gonna have to put on the episode just to watch it. She always came through, and he just said these really amazing things about her, and even though the potentials did end up kicking her out of the house because they lost faith in her, Xander made them have faith in her for at least a while before they lost faith in her. But then they got faith back in her when she saved them all. But that's...
Thank you.
another discussion. But I just loved what he said because he was like, she, what I can't remember exactly what he said, but what he said was just beautiful, and I just love how Buffy and Faith walked in on his speech, and then she was just listening in the basement of Xander saying these amazing things about her, and then and he was like, "You got questions? You should," and but you doubt her motives, you doubt her experience, or I don't think he said experience, but other stuff. Then you can take the long road home. And he basically said, if you don't have faith in Buffy, you should leave because Buffy's awesome. That's basically what he was saying in Cliff Notes version. But yeah, but then when they walked in, Faith was like, I didn't know you were that popular. She was like, you're always a bit slow. Okay, number 2. Oh, I love this one. Dawn being extraordinary. His extraordinary speech. After Dawn thought she was the potential and then found out she wasn't, she kind of lost her head and got all upset. And then Xander was like, was pretty much telling her how he knows how it feels to be the one who doesn't have the power. He watched the Slayer get more powerful, witches get more powerful, a demon get more powerful, and he had, like, what he said about Oz. He was like, I could fit Oz in my shaving kit, but come that full moon, he had this whole wolfy mojo not to be messed with. Powerful, all of them. And I'm the guy who fixes the windows. I think I watched that speech a little too much. I think I watched it recently, that's why I remember it so well, so fresh in my mind. Same with the number 1 pick. But he was like, how he knows how it not feels like to not have any power, to not be chosen, and then sit around and watch all of the people you care about get more and more powerful, more and more special. That's another opportunity. They could have said something about Xander being the inspiration, because Dawn could have said it, but she did say maybe that's your superpower after the speech was over. And I guess that was kind of implying that of his inspiration. But anyways, he was like, I saw you did last night. I see you working here today. You're not special. You're extraordinary. I just think that's so sweet. I wasn't a big fan of Dawn in season 5, but she started growing on me in season 6, and I actually kind of liked her in season 7. I wouldn't go as far as saying I absolutely love her, but I did start liking her. She became more tolerable. But it's just, it was so sweet. No one, not even Buffy, saw how much she was hurting in that moment, that she wasn't a potential Slayer, that she wasn't chosen. But Xander saw how hurt she was and made her feel so much better, and it was just amazing. Okay, honorable mentions, I only have one. Anya's speech about death after Joyce died, and Anya was like, how I don't understand how she can be alive and dead, and when you think about it, doesn't make much sense because she has been human for a little bit, and even though she was a demon for over 1,000 years, she was human before, so she should know a little bit about human things, about like something like death. But anyways, it was a really emotional moment because she was like, one minute she was here and the next minute she's not. She'll never drink juice ever again or brush her hair, and nobody will tell me why, and it was just kind of emotional. Okay, number 1, Xander's speech to Willow after Tara's death. That was so emotional. Of course, this is my number 1 pick. This should be everyone's number 1 pick because it's amazing, because Xander and Willow's friendship, I just love it. Anyways, I just love what he says to her and how he saves the world, and I love how Giles knew it had to be Xander because he was the only one who could help Willow at that point, because Xander and Giles knew that no much power could save her. And so Xander ended up finding her, and she used her magic on her and hurt him, but she just kept coming back up, and he was like, I love what he said. He was like, you're my best friend, Willow. If I'm going out, he starts out making a joke, and then he was like, I was going to move you off a cliff or something, but that seemed a little cartoony. And she was like, still making jokes, and he's like, I'm not joking. I know you're in pain, and but then he was like, what did he say? He said, okay, what was I just saying? He was saying how she's his best friend, and that if he had to go out, there's nowhere else he'd rather be. If his time was now, then he would want to be there with her. And she was like, is that your whole plan? You're gonna save me by saying you love me or something like that. And he said a few other things, and then he said, the point is, I do love you. I love crown breaking. Oh yeah, that's another thing he said. He was saying how in kindergarten she broke a yellow crown, and she got so sad she was afraid she was gonna get in trouble or something. So and then he was like, I love crown breaking Willow, and I love dark veiny Willow. So if I'm going out, it's he says that then after he says I love you. Okay, he's like, so if I'm going out now, it's here with you or something like that. And then he's like she starts using her powers on him, and he was like, I love you, and she used more magic. I love you, and you could see him getting out of breath, but he just kept going closer. He wasn't letting her stop him, and her power was weakening because she was starting to break down. And then when she couldn't use her magic anymore, she started punching him, and then he just kept saying it over and over again, I love you, I love you. And then eventually he kind of just holds her, and they both fall down to the ground, and everything goes back to normal, and you can see the veins in her going away and her hair going back to red, and it's just so beautiful and emotional. I can't watch it without crying because it's just so sweet, you know, how and I just love how they did that, you know, and I love the way they did it. I don't think I can say one bad thing about that scene. You know, I mean, as perfect heartbreak and friendship and emotion. And I just love how they had Xander save the world instead of Buffy, and it wasn't even from magic or power or strength. It was from his words, his love, him, you know? And I just think it's so sweet and beautiful, and I just love that scene, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore in this video because I don't want to start crying. So that is all for this list. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe and comment your favorite Buffy the Vampire Slayer speeches. Okay, so until next time.